There is a specific type of mispricing that happens in financial markets that is not random. It is not accidental, and it is not permanent. It happens when an asset's fundamental value, meaning what it actually does, who actually uses it, and what the documented institutional infrastructure around it looks like, becomes completely detached from the market price because retail sentiment is so dominated by fear that nobody is doing the actual math. That is exactly what I believe is happening right now with both XLM and HBAR. And today I am going to walk you through the numbers, the documented facts, and the specific framework for thinking about what these assets may actually be worth versus what the market is currently pricing them at. Not financial advice. This is how I think about valuation in this space. Let us go. Let us start with the framework, because without it the numbers do not mean anything. There are two fundamental ways that markets can misprice an asset. The first is when the price is higher than what the fundamentals justify. That is overpricing, and it is easy to spot in hindsight. The second is when the price is lower than what the fundamentals justify. That is underpricing, and it is almost impossible to spot in the moment because the conditions that cause underpricing, extreme fear, negative sentiment, macro pressure, are also the exact conditions that make most people too scared to look at the fundamentals clearly. Right now, the fear and greed index has been sitting below 25 for 60 consecutive days. Bitcoin dominance is at its highest level in years, meaning capital is consolidating into the safest asset in the space and everything else is being sold or ignored. The altcoin season index is at 35, which means altcoin rotation has not yet begun. Every single one of these signals is historically associated with asset prices that are being pushed below their fundamental value by sentiment, not by any change in the underlying utility. Now let us apply that framework to XLM specifically, because the XLM mispricing story is one of the most documentable cases I have seen in this space. XLM is currently trading at approximately 15 to 16 cents. Its current market capitalization based on roughly 33 billion tokens in circulation is approximately $5 billion. $5 billion. That is what the market is saying the entire Stellar network is worth right now. Here is what is actually on that network. Franklin Templeton, with $1.68 trillion in assets under management, has built its largest tokenization project specifically on Stellar. The Benji Fund, Franklin Templeton's U.S.-regulated money market fund, has $651.5 million of its $1 billion and $11 million total value sitting on the XLM ledger right now. That is more than $650 million from one of the world's largest asset managers deployed on a network that the market is valuing at $5 billion total. Spico, a French fintech operating fully licensed tokenized money market funds, has $597 million of its tokenized assets coursing through the XLM ledger. PayPal launched PYUSD, its own stablecoin, on Stellar in June 2025 specifically because the network handled the scale and speed requirements for PayPal's ecosystem. On March 11th of 2026, MasterCard launched a crypto partner program with Stellar to develop blockchain-based payment infrastructure. Swift's own internal document published in April 2026 positions Stellar alongside Ripple as a core blockchain payments solution in its global payments landscape diagram. Total real-world assets tokenized and settled on the Stellar network as of April 8th of 2026. $1,810 million. Up from $14.93 million in September 2021. That is a 12,023% increase in under 5 years on a network the market currently values at $5 billion total. On March 17th of 2026, the SEC and CFTC jointly designated XLM as a digital commodity, placing it in the exact same regulatory classification as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. CME Group confirmed the launch of regulated XLM futures contracts launching May 29, 2026, as part of CME's shift to 24/7 crypto trading. Rakuten Wallet added XLM for spot trading on April 15th. Amundi, Europe's largest asset manager, launched a $100 million tokenized fund on Stellar on the same day as the commodity classification. Now here is the valuation question that the market is not asking loudly enough. If Franklin Templeton's 12-month-old Benji deployment on Stellar already represents $651 million of value settled on that network, and if the tokenized real-world asset market is projected to reach $18.9 trillion by 2033, what is the network that is already processing this volume at this institutional level worth? not in speculative terms, in fundamental infrastructure terms. The conservative analyst target for XLM in 2026 is around 30 to 40 cents. The moderate case from platforms like Coinbird places the average at 37 cents with an optimistic case of 61 cents. Coinpedia's more aggressive model, which incorporates institutional adoption velocity and stablecoin volume expansion, sees XLM approaching $2.50 if it clears resistance at 50 cents and $1 in a mature liquidity cycle. Now for HBAR. And this is the one that I think has the most striking gap between documented reality and market price. HBAR is currently trading at approximately 8 to 9 cents per token. Its market capitalization at current price sits at approximately $3.7 to $4 billion. $4 billion for the entire Hedera network. Here is what is sitting inside that $4 billion valuation. The Hedera Governing Council has 31 enterprise members. Not 1. Not 5, 31. Specifically, Google has held a permanent council seat since 2020. IBM, Boeing, FedEx, Standard Bank, Africa's largest financial institution by assets. McLaren Racing, which joined in March 2026 and brings exposure to an estimated 600 million Formula One viewers across 24 Grand Prix events annually. NVIDIA joined through the HEAT program for AI data provenance. Tata Communications is on the council and actively shifting billing and asset management processes onto Hedera for T+0 settlement. The Digital Monetary Institute, a policy forum attended by central banks worldwide, accepted Hedera as a member in February 2026. The network has processed over $10 billion in cumulative real-world asset settlement volume, more than any other public ledger on record. Hedera ranks number 1 in blockchain developer activity for real-world assets, according to Sentiment data. The Canary Capital Bar ETF launched on Nasdaq on October 28 of 2025, with cumulative net inflows reaching $93.21 million by early 2026. The SEC and CFTC classified HBAR as a digital commodity alongside Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and XLM. Arcax, the UK-regulated digital asset exchange, is minting pool tokens on Hedera that bundle money market funds from BlackRock, State Street, and Legal & General, turning HBAR into a settlement layer for some of the most liquid institutional assets in the world. Hedera appeared as a primary sponsor of the USA House at Davos 2026 alongside Microsoft and Pfizer, where Hedera leadership gave a CNBC interview focusing not on retail crypto but on what was described as the infrastructure of trust required for the next phase of human civilization. And the market is valuing all of that at $4 billion. $4 billion for a network that counts Google, IBM, Boeing, FedEx, NVIDIA, McLaren, Standard Bank, and BlackRock's custody partner as direct governance participants. $4 billion for the number 1 ranked blockchain in real-world asset developer activity. $4 billion for a network with $93 million already in a federally regulated spot ETF. Binance analysts project an average HBAR price of 21.8 cents for 2026, representing a more than 140% move from current levels under their base case scenario. ChatGPT's modeled analysis outlines a scenario where HBAR reaches 35 to 60 cents in the next strong market cycle under moderate RWA adoption of $5 to $10 billion on the network. Under more robust adoption conditions where Hedera establishes itself as a primary institutional tokenization layer, the modeled range reaches 80 cents to $1.40. Under a full institutional breakout scenario, the model reaches $2 to $3.50. For HBAR to reach $1, the token would need a market capitalization near $38 billion. For context, Solana currently carries a market capitalization in the $80 to $100 billion range on infrastructure that has not processed $10 billion in enterprise real-world asset settlements, does not have 31 governing council members from Fortune 500 companies, and does not have its token held in a federally regulated ETF on Nasdaq. The gap is not subtle. It is enormous. And the reason it exists is entirely explainable by current market conditions. 60 consecutive days of extreme fear. Bitcoin dominance at multi-year highs. Institutional capital flowing almost exclusively into Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs while everything else gets painted with the same retail fear brush regardless of fundamentals. Here is the critical question that every serious investor needs to answer for themselves. Is the market pricing HBAR and XLM at 8 cents and 16 cents respectively because the networks are worth that? Or is the market pricing them there because fear is the dominant emotion and fear-driven markets do not do fundamental analysis? The documented answer is that these networks have both demonstrated institutional credibility at a level that most crypto assets never achieve. BAR's 31-member council includes companies whose combined annual revenues exceed several $1 trillion. XLM's institutional deployment includes some of the world's largest asset managers by AUM. Both have digital commodity classifications. Both have regulated derivative products launching in 2026. Both have been selected as settlement infrastructure by entities who run exhaustive compliance and technical due diligence before deploying real capital. The honest bear case for both is also worth stating because you deserve the full picture. The most persistent criticism of HBAR is that enterprise network usage does not create direct buying pressure on the token. Transaction fees flow to validators and the treasury, not to token holders, which means $10 billion in real-world asset settlements has generated essentially zero direct financial benefit for HBAR holders in the conventional sense. This is a genuine structural gap. Closing it through tokenomics reform would be a significant catalyst. The XLM bear case is equally documented. The pattern of impressive institutional partnership announcements followed by price declines has repeated across multiple market cycles since 2017. Fundamentals have persistently outpaced price. That history is real and cannot be dismissed. But here is the counter-argument that the data supports. Fear-driven markets do not distinguish between good assets and bad assets. They sell everything. And when the conditions that cause the extreme fear resolve, meaning when the Clarity Act passes, when altcoin rotation begins, when the fear and greed index returns to neutral, the assets that have built real institutional infrastructure during the fear period are the ones that experience the largest recoveries. Not because of speculation, because the capital that flows in when fear lifts looks for the most credentialed destinations first. XLM has Franklin Templeton, PayPal, MasterCard, Amundi, and a swift acknowledged position in global payments infrastructure. HBAR has Google, IBM, Boeing, FedEx, NVIDIA, McLaren, Standard Bank, and the number 1 ranked real-world asset development position on any public blockchain. Both assets are sitting at prices that represent between 80 and 83% discounts from their respective all-time highs. Both received digital commodity classification on the same date. Both have regulated derivative products launching in the next 46 days. Both are denominated in the kind of extreme fear pricing that, in 13 years of crypto market history, has consistently preceded the largest documented recoveries. The mispricing question in the title has an answer. Whether the market agrees with that answer in the next 6 months depends on factors outside anyone's control with certainty. But the documented gap between institutional credibility and current price for both XLM and HBAR is as wide right now as it has been at any point in the history of either network. Not financial advice. Size your positions for the uncertainty. But do the math yourself before the market does it for you. If this video gave you a framework you can actually use, hit the like button right now. That is how this reaches the people who are making positioning decisions on incomplete information during one of the most extreme fear periods in crypto's recent history. Subscribe if you want every major valuation development, institutional filing, and regulatory shift broken down for XLM and HBAR the moment it happens, because the 46 days before CME futures launch on May 29th are going to matter. Here is your comment question. Based purely on the fundamentals, what do you think XLM and HBAR are genuinely worth? Not what you hope. What do you believe the documented infrastructure actually justifies? Drop your numbers below. And if you know someone holding either of these assets who is second-guessing their position because the price is down but the fundamentals have not changed, send them this video today. Because conviction built on documented facts holds through fear a lot better than conviction built on vibes. Stay informed. Stay positioned. Let the math work.